Hello, friends, and welcome back to another edition of the Bikes for Death podcast. As always, my name is Patrick, and I am your host. And before we get to today's episode, I'd like to address something that is sad and tragic, and it hit very close to home. Many of y'all will be aware that on May 11th, Mariah Wilson, also known as Mo, was murdered in her home, and another member of the cycling community, Caitlin Armstrong, has been charged with her murder and is currently suspected to be on the run. This story is filled with nothing but sadness and tragedy. I think for many of us, it has hit very close to home. Members of our community were very involved in the Austin cycling scene, which is only about an hour and a half from me. And yeah, I don't have words to express the sadness that I feel for the loss of life. I've also felt a lot of sadness about how we as a community have also dealt with this tragedy. I'm sure, like many of you, you feel helpless, a little bit lost, and sad. Which is why whenever I saw that my friend Cynthia Pedraza, along with some other Austinites, have rallied together to host a memorial ride to honor the life of Mariah Wilson. So that memorial ride is going to take place this Sunday, May 29th. It's going to start at Republic Square in Austin, starting at 5:30, followed by a ride out to Deep Eddy Pool. A couple notes on the event. It says, please join the Austin cycling community for a memorial to honor the life of Mariah Wilson. This will be a gathering to acknowledge the tragedy of the loss and condemn the violence that led to this loss. Meet at Republic Square for a memorial, followed by a short ride to the last place Mariah visited, Deep Eddy. One more note on this event, that this memorial ride is not going to be mentioning politics, religion, or morals. The focus is on the loss and its impact. So if you would like to honor the life of Mariah Mo Wilson, that would be a great opportunity to get together and hopefully start some healing for the people in our community who need it. All right, well, I don't have a good transition from that into introducing our guest today, so let's just jump in. I'm excited to have my friend Jacob Loos on the podcast today. He just finished the Ozark Gravel Doom race that just took place the weekend of Friday the 13th, just a couple weeks ago. He ended up finishing second place overall, but he was on a single speed and set a new FKT, or fastest known time for single speed, with a time of 2 days, 11 hours, and 18 minutes, beating the previous time by about a day. So really impressive effort from Jacob. But what made this particular ride interesting, at least for me, was that around mile 255 on the route at 8 p.m., I was there as media crew taking pictures, and I was trying to get a picture of Jacob before it got dark. Turns out that I ran into Jacob when he was at a low point, and he had already called Andrew Honorma, the race director. He'd already called his partner, and he'd already been having conversations about dropping out of the race, and he was struggling with what he was going to do. And so I got to see him at his lowest point. I was also media crew, and there's been a lot of talk about media crew lately and their involvement and interaction with racers en route. And so this was a timely and an interesting interaction. But ultimately, obviously, he decided to stay in. And not only did he stay in the race, but he went on to, again, get second overall and set a new single speed FKT, which is amazing. So really, one of the main things I wanted to talk to him about was, how do you go from the lowest low to flipping that switch in your mind and just going? And not only going, but having a really great result. So it was great to catch up with Jacob It was fun getting to know him and his journey and what led him to this point. Being able to do what he did doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of work. And it was nice to go through his process and see his journey and be able to have a greater understanding and respect for what he was able to do. So congrats to Jacob. I'm really glad that you didn't get in my van, and I'm glad that you made the decision to keep on pushing on. And obviously, you learned a lot about yourself, which is really badass. All right, before we get to today's episode, I think we should take a moment to show our appreciation for the people who made today's episode possible, starting with our newest patrons. We have someone that signed up that doesn't want to be named, so a nameless person. Ashely, thank you. Manuel, Busse, Joel Freudenberg, and Nick Fox. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much for signing up to be sustaining members of the Bikes for Death podcast. And you're going to get to take advantage of some bonus content on today's episode. When I ran into Jacob around mile 255 on the route, I recorded that conversation. It was about 30 minutes long. The audio quality isn't great, but if you want to hear that entire conversation and how it all went down between a racer and a member of the media team, that will be available to patrons for free. And if you're not a patron, you can sign up for as little as $1 a month and get access to this bonus content and much, much more. You can find out more over at patreon.com/bikesordeath. And we thank you kindly. All right, well, today's episode is also brought to us by my friends over at Ruby Coffee Roasters. You may have heard some of our mini pods with Ruby before, speaking about our mobile coffee brewing setups and how they source their coffee. Today, we wanted to focus on their certified organic year-round coffee options. You can check out Organic August Seasonal Blend, which is designed to be bright, easy drinking, all-day coffee blend, or the Organic Tomorrow Seasonal Project, which highlights coffee from a single farm that's transitioning to quality-focused coffee farming. Organic certification is a great way to ensure large coffee cooperations are following strict environmental-friendly protocol. Small farmers are easy to talk with directly to understand what environmental practices are being followed. But some of the best coffees can come from large cooperatives. These organizations often process coffee for hundreds of farmers in the area, so having a certified organic status helps communicate from start to finish the impact these coffees have on the environment. You can check out Organic August Seasonal Blend or Organic Tomorrow Seasonal Project on Ruby's website at rubycoffeeroasters.com. And use the code BikesOrDeath for 15% off a one-time order or 20% off the first order of a new subscription. And folks, if you have not tried Ruby's coffee yet, you are missing out. Take this opportunity to head over to their website, use the code BikesOrDeath, get yourself a discount, support a great company that supports this podcast, and get yourself a great cup of coffee. Today's episode is also brought to us by Athletic Greens. Why did I start taking AG1? Well, newsflash, I'm getting older and I'm getting to the stage in my life where I'm actually starting to consider the impacts of the food that I eat, the nutrients that my body needs. I want to be here for a long time, I want to be out there as an old man. I want to be a Hal Russell, I want to be out there getting it. John Stamstead. He's not that old, though. He's coming on the podcast soon. That'll be fun. But you know what I mean. I've got a body. I only got one, and I want to take care of it. And so that's where AG1 comes in. What's in it? Good question. With one scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. I want all the things, especially that aging part. That sounds nice. I usually take mine in the morning, and I'll either just throw it into some cold water or put it into a smoothie blend that I make that morning. But either way, it tastes great, and I know that I'm starting out my day with some good nutrition and probably making up for some bad choices from the night before, maybe. So if you're like me and you want to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/bikesfordeath. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/bikesfordeath to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, we did it. We're here. It is time to party with my friend Jacob as we talk about all things bike packing. But first, let's have Miles Arbor take it away with the Bikes for Death theme song.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You let that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes or death. Bikes or death. Podcast.
How many podcasts have you been on?
0. So this was my first time.
Are you nervous?
Not really.
That's good.
I think I would probably be more nervous if I hadn't met you before.
We've been chatting on the internet I actually went through our messages because you don't post a lot on social media. So I actually got a better glimpse into you and kind of a timeline of some stuff just going through our DMs that we've had.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I need to know how to pronounce your last name.
Okay, so it's Loos.
Loos. Okay.
So yeah, so it was before my family came here, I guess, which would have been around World War I, before World War I. They came from Germany, and so it was Von Loos, Vonloos. And so that kind of I don't know, it helps me. I think it helps a lot of people understand why it's pronounced like that, because it doesn't look like that. But Von Loos, it was one word, that it's a German name. So they shortened it to Loos, obviously, because they were coming over to America. During that time, there was a lot of discrimination against, German people, because everybody was like, oh, you're a Nazi, but really it was just everybody that was coming here was trying to escape all of that.
Yeah, maybe leave their own, disassociate themselves with that identity to some extent. Not that,
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Just basically we're not associated with those people.
Yeah. They also wanted to distance themselves from that. It wasn't just to avoid maybe racism or, people who don't really understand, but it's also we also want to show that we too want to disassociate. And I mean, a lot of people, America is full of immigrants, obviously, and, kind of changing your name completely or a little bit to be a little bit more westernized. I mean, it was just common to do.
Yeah.
Especially if they can't fucking pronounce it whenever you get off the boat, they're like, what? No, you're Laos now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially I think making it more Western, but also, America does have a lot of immigrants, and you see how a lot of Americans treat a lot of those people. And, it's would you really want to be, I mean, I could understand why anybody would change their name, which kind of sucks, but yeah, I could definitely understand because of just discrimination. It's kind of messed up. But.
Yeah. America's messy, man. We are a big melting pot, and we haven't And we, the collective we, have not handled indigenous people or immigrants. And it's like, we're all fucking immigrants. And it's just a messy melting pot. But
it's not good.
Okay, so it's Laos.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
That's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it is what it is. And now I know how to pronounce your name because on the last episode, I teased that you would be the next guest, and I didn't. I was like, oh, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah. Because it doesn't seem like O and O would make a long O, So just Los, like the plural the, I believe, in Spanish, LOS. Same pronunciation. Like, there's a Mexican restaurant here called Los Portales that is just pronounced just like that, just like Los Portales.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember in Breaking Bad the name of that guy's chicken restaurant, but it was Los
Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that show. That show's awesome.
Who doesn't? If you don't watch Breaking Bad, get off the fucking podcast right now. You're fired. That's some good shit. You also sent me another one I need to watch when I was looking back in our DMs. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called. I pulled it up. Some like Time, The Devil. Yeah, Devil All the Time.
Oh, yeah, that movie is really good.
Yeah, you said it was dark, and I go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. Yeah.
I'm a super optimistic and happy person, but I like to watch some dark shit. And maybe hopefully it's because I'm not that way, and I'm not. It's like whoa, I don't know, that's interesting. My mind wouldn't have gone there, but yours did.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. So tell me, dude, where is home for you? You said you just drove home. It sounds like you've been on the road for a little bit.
Yeah, I live in Rockford, Illinois. It's like an hour and a half west of Chicago.
All right. Are you from there?
Yep.
All right. So how far is that from Arkansas?
It depends on where you're going, but if you drive
Doom. Let's say Doom.
from Oark, it's like 11 and a half hours about of a drive. Just, it's really only 9 hours. Like if you drive to Bentonville, it's like 9 hours. But because to get to Oark in the middle of, wherever it is, Arkansas, it's like you have to drive through all those super windy roads that they just take a long time to drive through.
Yeah.
And so, that adds extra 2 hours about, which is crazy because not that much farther from Bentonville, really. I mean, it's about a 2 hour drive from Bentonville, but just the way it's located, it's kind of interesting.
So, we're foreshadowing, but I mean, you've attempted the Arkansas High Country. You just completed the Doom, second place, single speed, new FKT, all that jazz. I'm glossing over, but we're obviously going to get into it.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So Chicago, what is the terrain like? How does that prepare or not prepare you for? I mean, obviously you were prepared. I mean, you obviously answered that question. Can I do this? Yes, I fucking can.
Yeah.
So what is that terrain like?
So a lot of the riding and training I do is in Western Illinois. Near the Mississippi River, and in northwestern Illinois, and then western Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota, and northeastern Iowa is all the region that they call the Driftless, which is a bunch of hills and valleys that whenever the glaciers came through and basically carved out the Mississippi River, they did not take out these hills. And I might be wrong about this, or maybe I heard it somewhere, but anyway, I feel like part of that meant that when the glaciers came through and they carved out this land, they also compressed the land around it, basically going from rolling hills and then just making everything compressed. So it's straight up, So I mean, a lot of the riding I do in Illinois, Western Illinois, it's all, a bunch of gravel roads. Like I can ride 100 miles with 10,000 feet of climbing there, which a lot of people wouldn't think for Illinois, but it's doable. And so yeah, so the grades are similar to what you get in the Ozarks, but Ozarks are a lot steeper and like way longer climbs. I mean, we have like 200, 300, sometimes like 400-foot climbs here. And like Doom, it was like regularly you were going up 1,000 feet at a time or more, sometimes more. So,
oh yeah.
But the grade is similar.
So you were used to the grade, but it was the length of the climbs that was kind of new and unfamiliar.
It was just going longer and more.
Yeah, I can relate coming from Texas and like trying. It's like, oh yeah, we're still going up.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. And like some of the stuff in Arkansas, especially on that route, because I had a little bit of experience with it with my attempt on the high country last year. So I knew a little bit of what to expect. I knew that the gravel was really aggressive and that having like a big tire and a durable tire is like super important if you want to complete that route, because everything's just so sharp. Like, if you bring anything there that says light and supple on it, like the chances are you're going to have like not a very good time.
You're probably going to fly off the side of the fucking mountain.
Yeah. You're going to get sidewall cuts
or something bad. Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, while we're here, what tire did you run, and did it hold up to your expectations?
I rode the Victoria Mezcal,
really
29 by 2.35. So big mountain bike tire. Cause I've, had some experience with that. I feel like it's really good all terrain. Like it's great mountain bike tire, but it's also a fast rolling tire on loose gravel or, hard pack or pavement even. And so, and it's also a really durable tire. So during the whole ride,
it's so interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to chime in on the mezcals real quick. Just as a cyclist trying, and I love trying new tires. I've got a lot of them just sitting in my garage, a lot of old mezcals that are in there. I have found, and I've talked to many people about that particular tire, and it seems like either people like them or they don't like them. And I'm in the don't like them camp. I've actually ridden, but when I did it on a 2.1 inch mezcal back in 2019. We did like a 200 mile route out there on some of the same roads as like the high country. But dude, I just never felt comfortable on like the loose stuff around there. And then I took them up to Las Cruces for the Monumental Loop, and Matt and I were talking about it. And we're like, these tires are kind of shit, aren't they? And he's like, yeah, But then, I mean, I see a lot of people that run them, and by my eye, they look like a good tire. That center line looks like it would really roll well, and just the pattern looks very grippy, but still like not a lot of resistance. So I don't know. I'm not really. I'm just kind of stirring the pot a little bit, but it is interesting that
it's interesting. I've mostly only ever heard people love them. That I guess, but it seems like everybody uses them. That's just they just use them. I don't only use those tires, but I picked them for this event because I was like, I don't think I'm going to get a flat, and that's important to me. And they're big and like comfortable. I got one puncture on the whole ride, and that was in like the last 10 miles of the entire ride. Just like on like the second to last descent, basically, I just hit a big rock and it just had a little puncture, and, I plugged it and it was fine. But other than that, I mean, they were great. And then, and then I did Rule of 3 just this weekend. It was super wet conditions, like super wet. And they were great for that area. So
yeah, I there's a lot of people that like them. Everybody's got to try them and figure out what they like. Are you still running those same Venture Max handlebars?
Yeah. Sorry. So I have on my gravel bike. So I rode my hardtail for Doom, which I think is an excellent choice for anybody. Personally, I would not attempt. A lot of people did it on gravel bikes. So if you're really comfortable on a gravel bike, then by all means. But personally, I would not ride that route again on anything but a mountain bike. And I even would put a suspension fork on just because it was so the downhills, some of the downhills were so chunky and there was a lot of them that were not even you could never drive any type of normal car on some of these roads. It's Jeep 4x4 high clearance vehicles, and then maybe you won't get stuck.
Right. Yeah, there were some spots. I mean, I legitimately could not access via vehicle and had to turn around, and yeah, it's no joke.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, gravel bike will be fine. But yeah, anyway, I have my other bike is a Soma Wolverine, which is a drop bar gravel bike. And before I used to use the Venture Max XL, so they're 52 centimeters, I think.
Yeah, that's the one I have. Yeah, the 52.5. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I used those all of last year, and I liked them. I really liked the handlebar. I think they were just too wide for me. So I got the same thing in a 42 centimeter, which I know is the opposite end of the spectrum. But I've been using those on my gravel bike this year, and I really like them. But I could see going up to a 44 or a 46. But the XL for me was just too. I definitely started to notice some shoulder and almost respiratory things on long distance stuff.
I feel like it just is. I mean, how tall are you? How long are your arms? What position do you need to want? And everyone's going to be different, and so it's good to have the options, but yeah, wide isn't always the answer.
No, right. Wider could be the answer, depending on the bike and the person. But yeah, a 42 for some, if you rode a 42, you'd probably be this is not going to work for me. It's just too narrow, but yeah, so it's just all about the person, it's not, but the handlebar itself, the shape of that handlebar, I don't think I could use any other drop bar, because the thing I don't like about drop bars, and the reason why I stick to mountain bikes a lot of the time, is because I don't like how they're so deep. I always feel I'm reaching so far, so I always just sit on the hoods. But with those ones, it's the shallowest drop probably on the market, I want to say. And I actually can ride in the drops comfortably.
Yeah, I agree. Those are good bars, and I'm still running them on my, I've had them on my Chumba, and now they're on my Crust right there. So, all right, let's give you some acknowledgement for people who are just now tuning into the show. So you just got back from Gravel Doom. You got second place overall, but you set a new FKT for single speed, beating out, I believe, your friend Brett Stepanek. And then you stuck around and you did the rule of 3, and you came in second place single speed.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, congratulations. But what I want to do right now is kind of set the stage for people listening, where you're at on your, let's call it your bike racing career, right? So you had signed up for the East Texas Showdown in October of 2021. That's my race.
Yep.
And you weren't able to make it. And then that was going to be your first bike packing race, I believe. And then you went to the Arkansas High Country later on that month in October, attempted that, but had to scratch. So one, I want to know why the fuck you didn't come to my race. So what? Yeah, I mean, just personal curiosity. What happened, man? Why didn't you show up? What happened? And then just go ahead and what happened with Arkansas High Country, the cliff notes. But I want to just give people some perspective on how impressive it is that these are big accomplishments.
Yeah. Yeah. So I signed up for your event, and then. Okay, so I did a couple of really big rides in 2021. I was signed up for Gravel Worlds, the Long Voyage, which was a 300-mile gravel ride that took place in August. And so leading up to that, I did a few rides. I did a ride that was in May. I did a ride that was 230 miles with 20,000 feet in the Illinois Driftless, which is actually part of a event that I helped create the routes for, which is called the 10,000. It happens Memorial Day weekend every year, so it's next weekend actually.
Cool. Do you want to plug that? Can people still register? Like, what's going on with that?
It's a free event.
Yeah, well, go ahead and plug it real quick. I think you messaged me about that last year. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's now it's put on by Rafa Chicago, but it's a free event, so anybody can sign up. It starts in Stockton, Illinois, on the 29th, which is next Sunday. But there's several route options. So in my opinion, there's two routes. There's a route for everybody. So there's a 40 mile, a 75 mile, a 130, and then a 260 mile route. So the 130 mile route is like the original kind of deal. 130 miles, 10,000 feet of climbing. This year, it's probably closer to 12,000 feet, to be honest, but I just make the route. It's not perfect. That's the whole premise, is that it's a 10,000 feet climbing day. So that one starts on Sunday. We're actually doing the 260 mile starts the day before on Saturday at 5 p.m. So it's all free. You can sign up. I think up to the day of. I don't really have like a lot to do with that whole part.
Yeah. Well, where can people go if they want to register and get all the deets?
So if you go on Instagram, there's an Instagram ride 10,000, ride _10_1000. And the link is, maybe the link's not right there but
I bet this podcast doesn't come out till Wednesday.
Yeah.
And by Wednesday it'll be there.
Yeah. So anyway, you can go on there and that you'll find all the information there. So it's this weekend. It's a great ride. That is really the whole, one of the biggest things that got me into gravel riding in the first place. So that's, a pretty big thing for me. So there's that. And then, so I did that 2021. That was the first year that I was making the routes. And so I was like, I want to do 20,000 because it sounds stupid. And people were all like, there's no way you could do that. And then I went and did it with my friend in like 22 hours or something. So
nice.
So I did that. And then to get ready for the long voyage was 300 miles. We did like a 320 mile road ride, which was weird. I borrowed my friend Stu's bike for it, which was also weird because I don't really ride bikes with gears, and that bike had gears. So we did a fast 320 miles, a little over 24 hours, I think. It was fast. And that was the same kind of a thing. It was Wisconsin driftless, so just north of me, but similar idea, very steep, hilly. I think it was like 15 or 16,000 feet, something like that. And then I did the long voyage, which was I completed that. I did pretty well. But it kind of I think the combination of those things just kind of it just beat me up. I was worn out, and took a lot of time off after that to try to figure out how to get motivation back and figure out how I was going to do the high country, because I was signed up for it. It was 1,000 miles. So I was decided the best thing for me would be to just have some rest. And so I'd stopped working for a little while, and I went up north to the UP and just kind of hung out there for a week or a week and a half or something like that. Just relaxed. And I started to feel better. And then I decided that was like right around the time whenever your event was. So I decided not to go just because I was like really looking forward to the high country. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be like totally beat up at the start.
Yeah.
Because I'd already kind of had like a run in with like loss of motivation and all that stuff leading up to it. So I decided not to go to that because a lot of travel and a lot of,
makes sense.
really a hard ride. I mean, it's a lot of miles. So then I didn't go to that. And then I was considering going again in the spring, but I still want to go do it. So I
would love to have you anytime.
Sometime. Hopefully like the next.
It's a long way away.
A
long way away.
And so then I went to Arkansas for the high country and like was totally just like a nervous wreck for that, despite like all the cool people that I met there the first time around, and then all that like advice I was given, like Dylan Morton, like he gave me a lot of advice. I met him at Gravel Worlds riding, and I knew he lived in Arkansas, so I like hit him up asking about it, and he gave me a lot of advice as far as tire choice and things like that, and so that was really helpful. But yeah, so ultimately, started the race, and I ended up having to quit like the morning of the second day, like in Russellville, which is, I was going in a counterclockwise direction. So that would have been like mile 160 or something like that. But the previous night, I had been going up Pilot Rock after leaving Oark, which is where Doom starts.
Mm-hmm.
And got up to the top of Pilot Rock, and I like had made myself a little bit of food. And then I stood up to like get back on my bike, and I just like got sick. I just like started throwing up like a lot. It was just like a ton of water, and everything in my stomach basically just was on the ground on my feet. And it's like dark, and I'm on top of Pilot Rock, which is like a mountain. I mean, it was dark, so I didn't see what it looked like, but that same thing is on Ozark Gravel Doom, where I was at, where I threw up. And so I was up there during the daytime this time, and I was looking, I was like, wow, this is like really high up here. It's super beautiful. But yeah, so I'm just like, it's nighttime, and I was up on top of this mountain, basically. I mean, it was one of the taller areas in the state. And I was like, well, I have to get down from here at least, because I don't think it's a good idea to stay up here without food. And I didn't really have very much water or anything like that. And I was, kind of unsure. I guess what I didn't realize is that Arkansas has the most water of like anywhere I've ever been.
Yeah.
Like I had a water filter. I probably could have just found a stream and, taken care of it. But so I decided to just ride to Russellville, which was like another 40 miles. I basically rode 40 miles to Russellville from there, on like an empty stomach, like no water. It took me all night. I stopped to sleep because I was like destroyed. I got there and I tried to like get better and everything, but ultimately I was just too far gone that early in the race. So I decided to pull out, which was really hard to do. Like it's super hard to make that decision.
No kidding. Yeah.
So that was that, and it was not great, but sometimes it's the right thing. Sometimes it's the right thing.
Yeah. We may talk about that a little bit later, and how that decision may or may not have impacted some decisions you made on Doom. Paint me a picture here for, like, when in your mind did you say, I want to be a bike pack racer? And like, what kind of goals? Because clearly, like, you were going to do my event, you'd been doing training, you put a lot of emphasis on the high country, which you should. That's a route where I think I agree. Like if Showdown is the Showdown, one nice thing about it, and I talked to Brandon when Brandon used to be the race director, is like, hopefully people use a Showdown as like some people can use it as like a shakedown ride or a warm up, because it's like 4 weekends before. So it's kind of like at a good time for people who are at that spot where they could take advantage of it. But you were already burnt out.
Yeah.
So, you need to be mentally and physically in it for the high country. But yeah, what is this this path that you're on? Like, what are you thinking? Because after that, then you went on to, come in second at Doom. So,
Yeah, I started bike packing in like 2018. Actually, I'm looking at a photo that I have printed. I keep like a bunch of memorabilia and stuff. But basically, in 2018, I like didn't have a gravel bike or anything like that, but I was like, bikepacking.com all over the place. All the stuff's all over the place. I was like, this looks really awesome. Like, I love camping. I love riding bikes. Like, I was really into fixed gear bikes at the time. That's like how I got into riding. And I had this road bike, like an old steel Paramount road bike. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get a couple of bags and I'm going to go camping on Lake Michigan. And so I did with a friend, and it was ridiculous. I mean, I had like a cast iron pan and like and like so much stuff. I mean, I had like this front rack and it was like loaded up. My bike weighed so much pounds on like 25 pounds. Yeah, and I had like 25 millimeter tires. I mean, it was ridiculous.
My first trip was on 23s, so I can relate. A carbon road bike, it's stupid.
So, but I did it, and it rained the whole weekend. But I was like, this is awesome. Like, we got here on our bike, and I did. Me and my friend Max did it. And he only had a single speed at the time, and he was having a really hard time, even though it was relatively flat. My bike had gears, but I pretty much just put it in one gear to like kind of feel his pain or something. And we both just rode in one gear the whole way there. It was like 80 miles and it was hard and it rained, but it was really fun. And so then after that, I was like, all right, I didn't make that much money. I actually worked for Jimmy John's delivering on my bike at the time, which was interesting. So I was putting in a ton of miles, which was good. But so I built up like a gravel bike that year, a Surly Straggler with flat bars. It had gears on it. And I started doing just some bikepacking stuff. Like, I did this route that I got off bikepacking.com in October called Tour de Schwamigan, which is like a 100-mile loop in the Northwoods. It's really beautiful. But I also like extended on that. I took a train to Minneapolis with my bike, and then I rode my bike from there to the start of the route, which was like 160 miles, or it was like 180 miles. And I was trying to do it in one go to just get a feel for what that was like. Cause I had seen people were doing like really big rides, and I had obviously heard of like the Tour Divide and stuff like that. So I was like, I want to see, like, I'd only done like 100-mile ride before that. And I was like, I want to see like if I can ride my bike this far. And so I attempted to ride the 180 miles, and, I rode 155 or something to Hayward, Wisconsin. And I was just beat up. I mean, it was 155 miles with like 6,000 feet of climbing. And it was like the most climbing I'd ever done in a single ride, like by a lot.
Yeah.
And so I was just, I slept outside the grocery store, like under a picnic table or something. And then I like finished to get to the start to meet my friend, and had a really good time again that weekend. So after that, I was like, well, this seems like something I could really get into. And that was 2018 still. And so then I just did some more bike packing, just like for fun. I'd never done like a race or anything like that. Just got into bike packing, got like better gear over time. It took me, a few years to actually get good bikepacking gear because it's expensive. It's not, there's a barrier to entry, and that's cost.
And trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and it's like you could buy something. I can't tell you how many bags I own because I bought something and then I was like, okay, this is good, but it's not like
Yeah.
quite it, and so it took me a while, a lot of like just regular bike packing trips. And then I start seeing people like Sofian Sahili, just like doing things like Silk Road Mountain Race. And I was just see all that stuff. I'm like, man, this is like a whole thing. It's like a whole sport, and it's like cool, and I want to try it. And so I just started doing kind of more stuff like that. And I was like getting into longer rides. I had done actually that 230-mile ride I was talking about that I did last year. That was my first time riding 200 miles. And then like a couple months later, I rode 300 miles, and I rode 300 miles again.
When you say I rode 200, are you saying it in one go, or
in one go?
As one, okay. So without stopping, without sleeping, 200 miles without stop. Well, I mean, like obviously you're stopping, but you're not camping or whatever for 300 miles. Like you're just really pushing miles on the bike and seeing how long you can just push yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See if you can ride for 24 hours. See if you can ride for longer than 24 hours.
So you've just been kind of, man, you've just been chipping away. I mean, you know, you started bike packing, and then you're like, okay, I can do that. I like that. I like sleeping underneath picnic tables at mile 155. And, I like the pain. I like the suffering. I got gears, but I'm not going to use them. Mm-hmm. And then you just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. But that's what we're trying to do, right? Those are the questions we're trying to answer when we're out there. Is like, how tough am I? Like, how capable?
Can I keep going, basically?
Yeah. Can I keep going?
Yeah. And so, I guess I didn't really, I haven't really ever been into like racing until like recently, when I was like, I really like doing this, and I feel like I can be competitive in a healthy way. And so then I was like, well,
when you say when I can be competitive in a healthy way, you're talking about physically, mentally, like what are you
just like the whole thing? Like, I think like a lot of people are really competitive, and then like when something doesn't go how they wanted it to go, they can be really hard on themselves about like that part of it.
Yeah. Right.
Like, for example, when I showed up for Ozark Gravel Doom, I was like, I want to be competitive. I want to race this race, but I was like, I know what my goal is. I don't know what all these other people's goal is, and I don't really care, because I'm like racing myself. I'm also racing them, but like, I don't really care necessarily about winning. I just want to beat my own goal, which I did in that race. I beat my own goal by 40 minutes about my goal. My goal, I was like, I know I can do this in 60 hours. Like I was telling myself, I can do this in 60 hours for sure. If I can do it faster than that, it'd be great. But then it ended up being about right.
So you did it in like 59 hours and 18 minutes?
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes.
That's what it came down to. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So I guess like you can be like competitive in an unhealthy way, I think, where like you're just, because you didn't win or because you didn't reach a certain goal or whatever, like then you really hard on yourself about it, and you actually can like, decline mentally. And I feel like even physically from that, like your fitness can take a toll from your mental side being damaged, which I think that has happened to me before. Not because I was being too competitive, but just for other reasons.
Yeah, it seems, in my opinion, when you're doing something hard like that, the best thing you can do is stay in that very moment and do the best you can, and not be worried about what the guy or girl in front or back of you is doing. Even don't worry about your own goals that you had, because, as Mike Tyson says, everybody has a goal or a plan until they get punched in the face. And, these routes are going to punch you in the face a lot. And so I think it's a wise perspective. You have to, because if you start to let those things creep in, they're creeping in, you gotta stay in a positive mind space. And, we hear people, you brought up Sophion, there's Lael, and there's other people that ride with a huge smile on their face. And the people who are doing very well, it seems like, are happy. They want to be there. They're having fun, all those things. And a lot of that is happening between your ears, like, yes, the training is there, but yeah, you gotta really focus on your headspace, I feel like.
Yeah. And I think it's like you can get lost from that, because that's how I try to just do it, because that's what I want to be doing. I think it's fun to push myself. And like, sometimes it gets to the point where you're like, like, for example, in Doom, like, it got to the point for me where I was basically like in so much pain, and I was like losing track of the fun part. I was like, where did the fun go? Like, I was like, I feel like I'm having fun, but a lot of there's like these things happening to my body that feel like not that fun. But yeah. So you just have to balance that stuff, I think, kind of.
Yeah, you're only accountable to yourself, and those are the questions that you have to answer and you have to weigh. And as we'll get into in a little while, you definitely reached a low point there at the end of day 2. So we'll definitely talk about that. So let's see, let's talk real quick about Single Speed. Just give us the basic rundown. How long have you been running Single Speed? Why? And everybody will be interested to know what gearing you were riding for Doom.
Okay, so well, I've been actually riding single speed bikes since I started riding bikes.
So you started fixie single speed,
exactly. I think my first bike that I had in like high school was it was a Trek 820, which it was like 8-speed, and I was like, so I rode that around, town and stuff with my friends sometimes, so there was that. But then after high school, my friend Andy, like, I didn't really know him at the time, but I was like starting to ride bikes with this other group of people, and I bought the single speed off Craigslist. It was like an old Schwinn conversion single speed, basically. So I was riding around, and I met this guy, local guy, his name's Andy. He was putting on Alley Cat. So I was like, I'm going to go with that. Sounds cool. Like, I know the area. I'm going to go to this race. And so I did. I went to it on my single speed bike. And I can't remember. I think in the first one, I ended up getting like 3rd place or something like that. But then we became friends from that. And he was really into fixed gear bikes. Like he had really cool stuff all the time. He is a photographer, so he always took like these beautiful photos of really cool track bikes. And I just saw them, and I guess I was just like, wow, that looks sick, so I got one. And that's how I really got into riding. So I started riding fixed gear, so all over the place, just brakeless fixed gear. That was just what I rode. And I did my first century on that, and then after that, I was like, man, my knees hurt kind of from all this like skidding and whatever. I was like, I want to try like a road bike, So I got a road bike with an old 8-speed, like 92 Schwinn Paramount. I found it on Craigslist for like $100 or something. It's a crazy deal, super crazy deal. And I fixed it up and was riding that around for the summer. And so I did ride geared bikes for a while. I had several geared bikes, like 3, including that one, I think 4 total. And then in 2020, I was going to New Mexico. I had a trip planned in New Mexico to do the New Mexico off-road runner route, which is on bikepacking.com. Super good route. It goes from Las Cruces to Santa Fe, which is the way we rode it. You can ride it the other way if you want. But it's like a lot of dirt road stuff, a lot of roads that are not dirt or gravel, but kind of like mountain bikey, like I probably, like, again, I'm not saying you couldn't ride a gravel bike, but I probably just wouldn't,
Yeah.
I borrowed a bike because two of my friends that went with, Nick and Max, who I did the first bikepacking trip with, Max, they both had single speeds because that's just what they had. So I was like, well, I want to do a single speed too, but I only had a geared hardtail. And so I was asking my friends if I could, try to find a bike to borrow, basically. And my friend Justin let me borrow his Jones short wheelbase, super cool bike. Like, if you've never heard of that, I wanted one for a long time after that.
Is that the one Cass rides?
I'm not sure. I know they make two different versions, and his is the older one. So it's like the old quick release version, which I guess is slightly different geometry than the newer ones. So they had like the short wheelbase and then the long wheelbase. This one was a short wheelbase with that truss fork, which is a really cool fork. So I rode that on that route, single speed. And then after that, I was like, I think single speed is what I want to do. So I started.
Does it come from a place of just enjoying pushing yourself? Because you obviously do enjoy pushing yourself, or are there other reasons why you like to ride single speed?
I think that, and then like also like the simplistic idea of it. It's cool because I don't know, like when you're pedaling, it's like you really don't have to think about anything else. You think about pedaling or you think about walking, but you don't think about like, oh, I should have brought a wider range cassette, or like I should have brought a bigger. Sometimes you think I should have brought a bigger chain ring. Like I'm spinning like crazy, but usually it's just like you either are pedaling or you're not pedaling. You're standing and walking. And so, and then I guess just going back to like how I got into riding fixed gears, I always loved that because I rode a brakeless fixed gear. There was nothing to go wrong with it. It was just a chain, basically. I mean, there's so little maintenance to those, and that's why I loved them, because I could just pump up the tires and then go for a ride whenever I wanted. I didn't have to worry about brakes.
Talking about barriers to entry, that's one way to lower the barrier to entry, of worrying about mechanicals and all this stuff. It's like if you want to just a bomb-proof bike that can go through mud, and you don't have to worry about the wind knocking over and breaking or derail your hanger off, which has happened to me a couple of times on trips. Always carry a spare, people, if you're going to ride gears. So what gear ratio did you ride for Doom, and would you choose that same ratio again if you did it?
I rode 32-18 with an oval chain ring, which a lot of people are like, oh, oval chain ring, single speed, what are you doing? But it actually works really well. The tension difference between the tightest spot and the loosest spot is very similar. So I've never had a problem with it. I actually got I actually did that because Brett was like, I like oval chain rings. I was like, I'll take your word for that because you know what you're doing. And so I tried, I bought one. I tried it out and works out really well. 32-18. And I think, I don't really know the exact technology, but I believe that with an oval, that kind of almost makes it feel like you have like a 30-18 and a 34-18 or something like that. Like it's like variable. I don't know, but 32-18 oval. And I think if I was going to do it again, which I may or may not, I don't know. I think I would probably choose the same or very similar gear ratio, because there's so much stuff where it was like, you're just walking. Like if I had an easier gear ratio, like a 19 or a 20, I probably would have ridden like an extra 50 feet up the hill. And I don't think that would have been any faster. I think I would have just been more worn out.
Yeah, right.
So I think having like that ratio, I probably wouldn't go harder than that personally.
That's one thing I hear, right? Is that single speed prevents you from blowing up and it
Yeah.
kind of saves your Achilles heels, and I mean
Yeah.
your knees, whatever you might struggle with. But I've heard that a lot is
Yeah.
how it will actually, it can save you. It can be like, no, you're walking now, and that's probably in the long run for some people a better option.
Right. It did not save the bottoms of my feet or my ankles though. Because just because I was walking like on my toes, I felt like so much because it was like so steep uphill. Is like you're not on a flat foot, you're like on your tippy toes basically. I like wrecked the balls of my feet and they just were so painful.
Now you got to go. You got to go train for some hike a bike on some of those gradients out there.
Yeah, yeah, and then also like I just kept as I was walking up hills, I get like careless with my feet and knock my heel on my ankle, both my heels and my ankles. So I have like scabs on my ankles right now from that, just from knocking it and just rubbing away your skin the whole time. But yeah, it does. It helped me a lot. I think a lot of the things that people have suffered with this year was heat exhaustion, which I felt like walking up a lot of those climbs, like some of the climbs on there, I pretty much walked it from beginning to end. Just because I was like, I would ride until it was like a little bit hard. And I was like, I'm just going to walk because if I just keep going forward, it's better than not, or like blowing myself up and then having to take a break for an hour or 2 hours. So I just kept doing that and it worked out, like the walking thing. I mean, I think I walked, I don't know exactly how far I walked, but if I had to put a number, I would say I probably walked over 30 miles of the 380 miles.
That's not too bad.
No, it's
I
not.
would actually think it might be a little bit worse.
Yeah, maybe it's more, but that's just what it felt like.
That's just I know you're just speaking from the gut.
I do a lot of trail running too, which I think if you're going to ride a single speed, that's like, I don't know, it's helped me a lot, both with single day things and with super long distance stuff, just because you're able to walk farther. Like sometimes like single day events, like I did Mid-South and Rule of 3. It's like some of the hills, sure you could ride it, but it's probably faster to run. Sometimes I'm running up a hill and I'm passing people by doing so.
Yeah.
So that's something I always tell people too. Yeah, is if you're gonna want to ride a single speed, you should try. If you like running, it's good training, really good cross training. So you should do it. Also, good impact training for your knees and everything.
Right. Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's talk about, you mentioned your goal was 60 hours. Mm-hmm. So that was one of my questions, is what was your goal going into it? So now my question is, where did you come up with the number 60? And did you have any, I mean, you came in second overall and first place single speed. Does that part matter to you, or are you mostly just concerned with that 60 hours? Like, how do you break that up in your mind?
Well, it definitely matters. It's not like, I think the most important thing to me is that I completed it, and I completed it within the time that I was like, I'm going to complete it in this time. The second place thing and the FKT is just like that's just like a bonus. I was like the whole time I was like, if I complete it in this time, of course I have the new single speed FKT, because Brett's time was about a day or something. I think a day longer than that, like 24 hours longer. So yeah. Originally, before he had even gone out to do that, which I did not know he was going to do, because he does that sometimes where he doesn't, most of the time I think he just doesn't really tell people. He doesn't need to. I mean, just doing it for himself, right? So
yeah, it's cool. Well, plus he didn't have a lot of time to repair. That was kind of a last minute thing for him. He had like a break in the window and everything kind of worked out. So yeah, but yeah, that's kind of cool. He just shows up and does it, just like Haley Moore did out at Doom. Just like, I don't need to tell anyone. I'm just gonna go do it.
Yep. So I was like, already planning on doing it before. I was planning on doing it as soon as I knew that it was going to be an event. I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this because it looks awesome. And I love it down there. And I felt like I didn't get enough riding before when I had to quit my ride on the high country. I was like, I feel like I did not get to see this place for what it is.
You were robbed, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was already planning it, and I'd already been researching the route and stuff. And I was like, okay, I feel like based off of some of the rides I've done, I was like, I think I can do this in like 50 to 55, 50-ish hours, something like that. And then Brett went out and did it, and I saw how long it took him to do it. Granted, like it wasn't January where the conditions are way different. I could not, like, that was more creek crossings than I've crossed combined any other ride. Like if I combine all of my creek crossings I've done in my life, it's not even close to the amount that you're going to do on that ride. And we have lower water levels than normal. So
lower water levels. And I mean, you were, when y'all were doing it, it was heat exhaustion or heat stroke was the issue. When Brett was doing it, hypothermia was on
Definitely. If you got wet, sure. It was over basically. Yeah. He told me that like one time he misjudged a creek and got his feet wet, and he was like, that was a 24-hour mistake. Which is weird to, think about that. But so then when he did it and it took him 3 days, 12 hours, or I think that's what it was, I was like, okay, I think I need to reassess my okay, maybe under 3 days is good. And then I talked to him about it. He was like, yeah, I think I could do it like a lot faster. And I was okay, maybe like 60 hours. I was like, I think that might be a good time to shoot for. And so I was like, okay. And then it got closer and closer. I was like, okay, 60 hours. I was like, I think this route's possible for somebody in under 48. But 60 hours is like doable for sure. And then Haley did it like in just over that, like 60, 2 or 4 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay.
So I think you were about 3 hours faster than her, I think.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, somebody's done it in that amount of time. So it's obviously doable.
And in similar condition, I mean, she was just out there 2 weeks ago. Yep. So, the temperature, the course, everything was pretty similar conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So really it was just important to me to like reach that goal. But
so whenever you set a goal like that, how meticulous are you whenever you're making a plan to attack the route or race the route? Like, you're planning out all your resupply, where you want to sleep, or what was your like strategy going into actually, you have a goal, now how do I accomplish that goal?
Well, I know how it goes with these things, so I had a goal.
That's a great answer.
I had a goal for the first day. Like I had a goal. I was like, I'm going to make it to Jasper before the good things close. And then I'm going to reassess my situation from there.
That was at a mile 90-ish or so?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Okay.
Mile 90. So I got there. It was pretty early, like around 5, maybe before 5 even. So pretty early. I was like the 4th person there or something. And I just went to the gas station real quick, got my stuff, Gatorade and water mostly, no food. I had like so much food on me. I packed like so much food from the beginning, which was a good idea. And so I just got the water, Gatorade, and I was like looking at my little cue sheet I made with the stops. I was like, okay, I could go to Ozark Cafe, but I was like, I feel like it's too early for me to eat, and it's still really hot, so I don't really want to do that. So I was like, I'm going to try to make it to the next one, which is at 115 miles. That's called Low Gap Cafe. And I made it there. Like I was worried I was not going to make it because there's a climb going into Jasper before you get to Jasper, then you descend into Jasper. But that climb was insane, like really hard. And I think the one after Jasper was even harder. So it was like 25 miles. It took me a long time to go 25 miles because I think I got to Jasper around 4:30, and I got to I got to Low Gap at like 7:30 and they closed at 8. So it was like 3 hours for 25 miles. And like a lot of those miles were downhill. So it was really like, when I got to the top of the hill, it was like 15 minutes to descend to the bottom. So it was like close to 3 hours to go like, I don't know, 18 miles or something like that. I mean, it was slow. It was walking. It was steep. I was worried I wasn't going to make it, but then I got to the top. I was like, I'm definitely going to make it. So made it there. And that cafe is awesome. It was like best food I had. That was the only real meal I had during the whole thing.
Low Gap Cafe.
Yeah, very nice. They had key lime pie, which was really good. So I did that. And then I left. I actually forgot my gloves there.
Oh no.
Huge mistake. And I actually paid for it later on. But I didn't realize till because it was like halfway down a descent. So I continued down the descent. I was like all the way at the bottom, 500 feet down. And I was like, where's my gloves? And I then imagined, I was like, I know where they are. They're on this little bench thing. And they definitely were. I did not go back for them because I was not going to do that. I figured they would find them and, I don't know, throw them away, or they would put them in a lost and found and nobody will ever come and get them, or whatever happens. But
maybe next time you can go check their lost and found and see if they're still there.
Yeah. So I lost those, which kind of sucked, but I barely made that. So I just made that. And then I was like, well, I don't really have a plan from here. I'm just going to keep riding. So I just kept riding until I got tired, basically. And then I went to sleep.
Oh, wow. So your plan only extended until about Jasper, it sounds like. And then at Jasper, you were like, I think I can make Low Gap. And so then after that, it's just all bets off. We're just going to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was, I knew where the resupply points were and I knew what time they were. And I knew that like hitting that one was the most important, because the other ones, it almost seemed like if you could hit that one and get to a certain point the first day, it seemed like the other ones would just kind of fall into place, which they were. They were just falling into place very well after that. Perfectly, almost entirely. Like I got to sometime on the second day or something, I got to More Outdoors or whatever I think it's called. Is that what it's called? It's like
that sounds familiar.
Where Kyle like was closed. It was closed when he got there.
Ooh, that's not good. I
don't know, but I got there and they were open. They didn't really have a whole lot. I really just got like a Sprite and like some crackers. I bought my stuff and I walked out, and like the store owner person like followed me out and like locked the door. And I was like, oh, are you leaving? And then they're like, oh yeah, but you're fine. You can just stay right here. I was like, oh, I really got here. And literally, if I was 1 minute later, I don't think that they would have been there,
Wow.
So just like, it was like that, everything like that was just kind of falling.
I mean, we're kind of segueing into exactly where I wanted to go, which was starting to get like a kind of overview of, how the race went overall. I mean, it sounds like one of the good things was that you got lucky with some resupply points along the way. But, I kind of want to get to, where I want to get to is whenever you and I met at around 8 p.m. on day 2, when you were thinking about maybe quitting. But, before that, like you said, I mean, you were at the front of the race. You were in top 3, top 4. I saw you on route. I remember seeing you on day 1, and you took a picture of me and I took a picture of you. Was that a film camera or was it a camera?
Yep. Film camera.
So did you I did get a chuckle out of that. You and Brett Stepanek both being friends, for people who didn't listen to that episode. And one of the things I really liked about that episode, and a personal takeaway, was that he takes a film camera, and it's kind of like his mental carrot in a way. It's one of them where he's always looking for that next composition, the next cool thing to, like, maybe he only stops for a minute, maybe it's 30 seconds, but it's just that little mental carrot, something that keeps him motivated. So did you start that trend? Did he start it, or?
I think it's completely separate. I mean, I've been pretty into film photography since like high school. I got a film camera in high school, and I was like, started taking film photos. This is really cool. And then I got like more into it. I had like a medium format camera, which I used for a long time, and took a lot of photos with it. And then now I have I still enjoy taking photos, but I have a few film cameras. The only film camera I really use is that one, the point and shoot. It's a Olympus stylus, Japanese point and shoot, very durable. It has been through some things, and it works. Still
and
works.
Small and compact. You can put it in it looked like it was probably in your feed bag or something where you could just pull it out real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got a great shot of you, by the way. I don't think I've sent it to you yet. I've been saving it for this episode. But I got I got the whole series of you like whipping it out of your bag. And then, but yeah, you were having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also have like a mirrorless Fuji X100F. I use that often for things. But mostly I just feel like one negative thing about doing these races in this fashion, like we're going really fast and all the time, is that I think sometimes you kind of miss out on, what you're surrounded by. I mean, often I have to like stop just because I see something. I'm like, I just have to like look at this for a second, it's just so awesome, and I think the camera helps with that. You take photos of things, and it just, when you look back at it, it just triggers something in your brain, basically.
I appreciate you acknowledging that, because it's one of my, my personal things is like never wanting to go into those beautiful places and hurry, that's kind of counterintuitive to what I'm trying to do, and certainly not knocking anybody that does it, because I mean, one of the reasons why hashtag pro slow is because, I mean, it doesn't, even the fast people aren't going that fast. I mean, you're still on a bike, you're still seeing everything, you're still experiencing everything. So like, honestly, you are soaking up a lot of stuff, but you can slow it down. And I think I appreciate that you're mindful about wanting to be intentional about taking some time to soak it up. And then, I love film photography. And then, 30 days later, whenever you get the film back, and all those memories come flooding back of what you did,
Yep. Yeah. I shot like one roll, and I already sent it in. So I should get the photos later this week, which is awesome. I never am that fast about it, but I was like, I have to do it this time. I was like, I have to do it fast this time. So I did.
I finished this roll like a month or two ago, and it's still just sitting here. So
I have like a bag. I have like a bag of film that is undeveloped. I don't know what I'd do with it, because it's kind of expensive actually to develop film. So I mean, there were several times like going to descend into Jasper. There's like this really crazy downhill gravel switchback thing, and I was like halfway down it, but it was just like this crazy view, and I literally just slammed on the brakes and like just had to stop, because I was like, I have to just look at this for a second. So I did, and then I kept going and turned the corner, and then like Kai was there waiting to take a photo of me, and so I was like, wow, he probably heard me like slam on my brakes, because it was like I went skidding to a stop, with on gravel and stuff, and he was just below me. So I wondered what he was maybe thinking, if he heard that or whatever. But yeah, so sometimes I think just have to do that. And otherwise, I don't think you get as much from the experience.
At least for you personally, right?
Yeah, for me. Yeah, exactly. If I don't stop and just
but
look,
yeah,
look around
that really appeals to me, personally. Yeah, I really like that. So it sounds like day one went pretty well overall. When did things start to get hard? When did feelings of doubt or uncertainty start to actually creep into your mind, and what maybe caused that to happen?
Well, yeah, so everything was going really well. First day, I saw a black bear, which was crazy. I'd never seen a black bear.
I remember you said that.
I saw a black bear. It was obviously super scared and immediately scurried off into the woods because it has this like alien thing looking at it with two lights in the dark. And it's like, what is that? So I rode almost the whole night, the first night. And then I slept for an hour and a half. And then I slept again for like an hour because it was still dark. And I was like, didn't really want to ride in the dark anymore. Well, like I said, the second day was having a really good day all day. Everything was just like falling into place. Until I got up Pilot Rock and I was like, I have to make this resupply. Like, this is like the most important resupply for me right now, because if I don't get it, I had food, but I was like, I don't think I can eat this food for another 12 hours or whatever until I can get to whenever I can get to the next place. Because if I don't make this one, I'm definitely not going to make the next one. And if I don't make the next one, I just have to wait somewhere till the morning comes, basically. And I was going up Pilot Rock, which is a very big climb, huge. I mean, takes a long time. Got up to the top. That's where I had thrown up on the high country race. So I recognized it, even though it was daytime. It's like, I've been here, definitely been here. Then I was like, okay, made it up to the top of this. I think there's like one climb after this. It should be easy. Like, descend, climb, descend. I'm there. Like, I will make it for sure. Start descending. Turns out that it was not easy. And the descent was like a crazy, I don't know what I would call it, but it was like really awesome if you're on a mountain bike, which I was. That was one of the sections where I was like, I wish I had a suspension fork.
Yeah.
But, going down it, it's like all these roller things, super steep. I mean, I was on the brakes pretty heavy down that as to not crash and fall. So it took a lot longer to descend than it would have if it was just a gravel road. You couldn't rip 40, 50 miles an hour down it like all the rest of them. You were going 20 miles an hour, like you were on a mountain bike trail, basically. And so, I got like pretty much to the bottom. And then I was like going over these crazy rocks, and I like just made a slight mistake, and I like went over the bars. And that's where I paid for getting my gloves, because I slammed my hand on the ground, and then my hand's bleeding and it like hurts really bad. And I was like, how am I going to ride now? I have like 130 miles left, and my hand feels terrible. Like, it was swollen and it was hurting. And so I was like, well, I don't know. So I was like, I don't know, but I'm cutting it close to this resupply and I have to get there. So I just got back on the bike immediately, like didn't even really check anything. Just got back on the bike. I was like all dirty and kept going. There was like one more climb in the way. Got up to the top of that and I was like, okay, I got like 25 minutes. I was like, I'm going to make it. Like, I was like, I'm for sure going to make it. And then I just started descending that one. And it was the same thing. It was the same crazy mountain bikey hiking trail thing, except then throw in like the deepest puddles, like up to past my knees. And up to this point, I had already been suffering in my feet because I was pretty careful about the precautions. Didn't really get wet feet, but my feet were wet from the sweat and they were dirty and there was rocks in my shoes. And so my feet were torn up. It felt like, and they hurt every time I walked. It felt like stepping on like pins. But at that point I was like, I don't have time to go around these creeks, because going around them meant bushwhacking. And I was not interested in that at the time because I had like very limited time. So I was like sprinting through the woods, like running through these creeks, knee-high creeks. And then it got to the point where I was like going down this one right before like a mile away from where I saw you. And it was like 6:55 or something. And the store closed at 7. And I was like, I'm still.
Oh,
like
you're
3
talking about
miles
the
away.
store, so
the Red Lake store. Yeah. So it's like
that was like
65.
right
I was
up the
like,
hill.
it was so close. And I was like,
Oh
I'm
my
like
gosh.
literally so close and I'm not going to make it. Like, this is the worst thing ever. And I was just, so I stopped right there at the bottom of the creek. My feet hurt so bad. So I just laid my bike down and I'm just sitting there on the rocks, like took my shoes off, and like my legs are starting to go numb from like sitting on rocks. And I just felt terrible. And yeah, so I like called my partner and I was like, I don't really know what to do because, I'm going to miss this resupply. Like, I already missed this resupply and I'm in a lot of pain and I just don't know what to do, and she's kind of like more of like I feel like she's just, I don't know, she's really good at solving problems. She doesn't like to just like jump to conclusions about like, just,
Like walk you through it kind of.
yeah, like you have a problem. The answer is not to quit. It's more like, let's figure out how to solve this scenario. Because either way, there's a problem. Like if you're out there and you're going to quit, you have this problem of you might have to wait 3 hours for somebody to come get you. In that 3 hours, you might be able to become better. So it's kind of a hard situation. So I sat there for a long time. I sat there for like 30 minutes or so. And I was kind of ultimately came to the decision. I was like, I think I might have to quit. So I hung up and I was like, I'm going to call Andrew. I called Andrew and he was like, he was just basically like, are you sure that this is what you want to do? Because, that's a big decision to make. And I was like, well, I don't know. He was like, well, why don't you just think about it for a while? Which, and then also just touching on the whole thing with media and support and whatever. I guess as far as like I'm concerned, whenever they started allowing cell phones on Tour Divide or all these things, they said everything that comes with a cell phone is allowed. And I felt like I wasn't calling Andrew as like the race director for advice or anything like that. I was calling him like as a friend and saying like, and he wasn't really even giving me any advice or anything. He was just questioning me basically.
Yeah,
He was
pointing it back at you. Like,
yeah, he was
you
like,
came here with goals.
yeah. And he just said like, hey, remember how you felt after you weren't able to complete the high country? I was like, yeah. Like, I was like, I'm going to feel just like that basically. And then also just really quick, I know that several people, everybody I talked to that had to scratch from this race said that when they called him, he said the exact same thing to them. He was like, they were like, I'm quitting. And he was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
And that's like what it boils down. That's what it was basically. So
He treated everybody the same. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody had like an upper hand or anything like that.
Yeah. He's not giving you pep talks to
right.
or anything.
Or like any like advice or telling me anything I didn't already know about the route or anything like that. It was just, I was calling him as a friend saying, I think I have to quit. And he was like, are you sure that you feel that way? And it's like weird because people don't always do that. It's like sometimes when you call people and tell them you're going to quit, they're like, okay, I'll come get you. Rarely does somebody say, are you sure? You know what I mean? Like people are usually pretty quick to provide support for you, and he was just like, no, basically. I mean, so that was cool. And so then I was like, okay, well, maybe I just need to go for a walk or something. So I had like my feet in my shoes without socks on and like totally loose. Like I have like boa shoes and just loosened completely. Like they were like flip flops. And I'm walking through this trail thing, and I was just walking. I walked for like a mile and a half until I got to you. I walked that whole way from where I was sitting, just walking by myself, thinking whatever. And yes, and then I got to you, and I was like, well, I'm gonna sit here for a while. And so we were talking, and again, like the rule was like, as a racer, I was allowed to acknowledge or start a conversation with anybody on the media crew. And that was a rule. And so I did, and that's fine because that was the rule that was set in place by the race director. So we had a conversation about it and stuff. And again, like you were super, like, not even considering the aspect of like offering me anything, because that's not what you were there to do, which is great. And I had kind of already been trying to figure it out anyway, but basically I was sitting there and I was kind of waiting to see if when Dylan came through, because I knew he wasn't that far behind me. And I was like, I've been sitting for a long time. He can't be that far behind me. And so we had a conversation, me and you we were talking for a little while. And then I was like, kind of at the point where I was like, okay, I think I just have to quit. Like, I was like, I have to quit. And then I called Andrew again, and I was like, okay, Andrew, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to quit. And again, he was like, are you sure? I was like, and then I was like, gosh, I don't know. And then we were just, we were talking for a minute, and then I saw Dylan's lights, and I was like, okay, Dylan's coming. He looks like he's having fun. I don't think I'm going to quit. I'm going to go over to the store at least and just sit there for a while, and then maybe I'll still quit, or maybe I won't, I'm going to go over to the store, sit there. Maybe I'll wait till they open or something, And then I was like, okay, I got to go. And like Dylan came by, and he just is like, he had a suspension fork. And so he's just like bouncing around, and he just like looked like he was having so much fun. And I was like, hey. And he was like, oh, hey. And then he's like, how are you? I was like, I've been like way better before, but I was like, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to town. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he just like was gone. Like it was like a 2-second encounter, but that 2-second encounter, plus like the thoughts I was having by myself for like the hour or so prior and with my walk and stuff, I was like, that is when I was like realizing like that I had been letting go of the fun part of it. And then when I saw him having fun, I was like, I want to go do what he's doing. Like he's having fun. I want to go do that. And the only real problem I was having was that my feet hurt really bad because they were wet and they were like just painful. And so I was like, well, I think you were coming over to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not quitting. And then you were like, oh, are you like on the phone or something? And I was like, nope, I'm not on the phone. And I was like shoving stuff in my bag already. And I was like, I'm not quitting. And then I just got up on my bike and I rode away. And my shoes, keep in mind, my feet were still in the shoes with no socks on and super. So I'm riding away on my bike up this hill with my shoes barely on my feet and no socks. So I rode to the store. Got to the store. Kai was there.
Oh,
waiting.
Really?
Yes, waiting.
That's crazy.
So I was like, then I was like, sat on the table.
So you had 2 media interactions within like an hour.
Yeah.
I had no idea Kai was there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I sat down, and then, pretty much before he could even walk up, pretty much right when he came and walked up, and this is way after the store was closed. Like this is like 8:30 at this point. The store owner, his wife, I'm assuming, and his kid pull up in the car. They get out. They come up to the door. I'm sitting there like right in front of the store at the picnic table. And he's like, saw me. He knew what was going on because he knew about the race. And he's like, you want to come in? And I was like, dazed. I was like, what? He's like, come on in. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I went in, the lights are off. And he's like, yeah, just you can shop around, take your time. And so I did. And I got all the stuff I needed and felt really good afterwards. And I guess it's like something I learned from that is that even if you're like barely going to miss the store, just go there anyway, because you never know what can happen. I'm not used to that stuff because in Illinois, people aren't that nice. I feel like in Arkansas, people are like super nice. Like
very nice. People
just talk to you. They stop and talk to you all the time. People are really nice. It's not like that here.
Why did he come to the store? Was it for you? Do you know?
No, he was just coming there. I want to say that they have like a trailer right next door, and that's where they live.
Okay, yeah.
It seemed like that based off what I could see, but it looked like he was going in there to like close up something. I don't know, but they just showed up.
How fucking crazy is that, man? That's crazy. Some trail magic right there.
Yeah, and it was, and so I at that moment, even though I had already decided I was going to keep going at least for like the next night, and by keep going, I meant like stay right there and wait for it to open.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was one of those things. Sometimes I think there's like certain signs that are telling you like you're supposed to be doing this right now. Like you should not stop. And here's a good reason why, So that was my reason to not quit. So I got all this stuff, ate so much, I spent like, I don't know. I didn't spend as much as other people spend there, but I spent like close to $40 at that store. I had like Gatorades, like chocolate milk, like chips, apple pie, cherry pie, honey buns, like all this stuff.
Yes.
And so I sat there on the picnic table and I was like just downing all these liquids. And then I was like thinking about sleeping there still. I was like, well, I knew there was a campground 20 miles away. I was like, I'm going to ride there and just see how I feel. So I did. Again, the problem I was having was with my feet. They hurt. I rode there without socks, and I kept my shoes kind of loose so that I could try to air them out while I was riding. Ultimately, that is what ended up saving me, is riding without socks. I rode the last 130 miles of that ride without socks.
Do you know why that worked?
I think it's just because my socks would not dry, and the only way I could get airflow through my feet was by not having socks on and having my shoes really loose. So I kept going really far that night. Like Dylan had passed me, so then I was in third place.
So wait, you were going to the campground 20 miles away, but the no sock thing was working, and they were feeling better by then, and so you're just like, okay, well,
I just kept going. Yeah, I just kept going. I basically kept going until I was so tired that I was delusional, and then I was like walking up this big hill. I was like, I'm gonna get to the top of this big hill. I could see it on my GPS that it was a big hill, like the other ones, and I was like, I'm gonna get to the top of this and find a place to lay down for a couple hours till the sun comes up. I was walking up it, and there was like this. I was staying in the middle of the hill, just literally walking so slow. It took me so long to get up that, and I was looking in the woods, and I was like, is that some kind of crazy animal that I've never seen before? Like, it looks scary. I was like, it looks really scary. And I'm like looking at it. I stood there in the middle of the road for like 5 minutes looking at this object that was not moving at all.
It was looking at you. You were looking at it.
Yeah.
Proper stare down.
Right. So I just was like, well, I guess I just have to walk I don't know what else to do. I just keep walking. So I kept walking. And then like, it was literally just a plant. Like it was like a stick. And I was like, that's a stick. And so I kept going, got to the top of the hill, slept. Next day, I was like ready to go, By next day, I mean 2 hours later. When I in a really uncomfortable position. Everything that I had really made a huge effort to dry out was now soaked from the humidity. You can't dry. If you want to dry something out in Arkansas, just don't even try because it's not going to work.
Don't try.
It gets more wet actually overnight. And yeah, so then I, from there I just kept riding, and I was like at that point I was like 100 miles from the finish. I was like, there's no way I'm not going to finish this now. I've ridden 100 miles so many times in my life. Like, I don't care if I get second place, if I get sixth place, if I get whatever. There's no way I'm not finishing,
Right.
At that point. So it went from like, I am quitting, like I can't do this at all, to like, I'm definitely going to finish this and I'm feeling like pretty good, like within, 7 or 8 hours. Which seems like a long time, but on a ride that takes you 60 hours, it's not that long. It's a fraction.
It's like 8% of your ride.
Exactly.
Or less.
Yeah. So yeah, that I guess it's just it was a good lesson to myself to like, whenever you're feeling that way, just give it some time before you even begin to make a decision, just give it some time. Because if you keep moving forward, it doesn't matter how slow you're going. You could walk. Like, I need to, that's why I was walking through the woods. Because I was like, well, if I sit here, I'm not going to get anywhere. If I walk, I'm going to get somewhere really slowly, but I'm going to get somewhere. So yeah, like, if you ever feel like I can't do this, this sucks. Like, this is really hard. I don't know why I'm doing this. Just stop riding your bike and just walk it for a while. And just keep moving forward, I guess is what it is. Is, if you keep moving forward, eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, well, this is kind of the part of your story that makes it unique that you'd never be able to tell just by watching the dots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, partly because we had that interaction on course. I was media crew, you were the racer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I was there taking pictures, and up until that point, 0 people stopped to talk to me. Nobody did. And I was trying to get a shot of you, right before sunset. And yeah, you took for fucking ever to get to me. Now I know why.
Yeah. Because I was sitting there for so long. Like I was just.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard, from a documenting race. I sat one place for 5 hours waiting for, 5 riders to pass to get one shot or a couple shots, and you miss it because, I can't control what y'all are doing. Exactly. I don't know if you're broken down or whatever. And so I'm like, you just sit there and you wait. And when I missed the shot, I was like, well, I sat there for probably an hour waiting for you, hour and a half, something like that. And I was like, well, I'm at least going to sit here and cheer on you and Dylan, who was right behind you.
Yeah.
And then you came up and stopped, and it was a really interesting ballet from my standpoint. And I don't know if you know this, but I recorded that entire interaction. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
I was wondering about that actually afterwards, because somebody had said to me, one of my friends, they were like, hey, I'm really excited for your to hear what you have to say, like on the podcast. And I was like, oh, how did you know about that? And he was like, oh, well, Patrick gave a sneak peek in the last episode. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I was like wondering, I wonder if he was like recording and he like played something. But I listened to the episode, which was the last episode, was really awesome.
Thank you.
By the way, like that was a really good one.
Yeah, crazy story.
And then obviously, you just talked about it at the end. So I was like, wonder. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe you didn't. But then I was still kind of wondering, I was like, oh, I wonder if it was. Because
yeah, I did. I mean, it's just
instinctual.
It's just instinctual. It's just on my iPhone, so it's a shitty recording.
Yeah.
But Ben, my editor, is currently cleaning it up, and I've listened to some of it. And I mean, we can, I don't know where we're going to insert it and how we're going to like utilize. I don't know what exactly. Well, it depends on how much of the audio is good and how much isn't.
Right.
But in light of all this media coverage, and the controversy, quote unquote, or discussion that's happening around it, it's very important for me that I'm only there to document, and I stay way the fuck away from. And you saw me. I mean, like nobody's talking to me. You just ride past. I take a picture. I think I go woohoo, go team, and then you're
whatever.
gone. And that's it. And that's the position I don't want to be in is the one I was in with you, where it was really illuminating, because I'm like, okay, here's this guy who's already had a conversation with his partner, already had a conversation with Andrew, and who's already, having these ideas percolate in your mind about if you can and cannot continue. And now, here I am with a fucking van full of cold drinks and food that I can make you, and I can't offer it to you. And
exactly, yeah.
It's I don't know I thought, from my perspective, I was like, I don't know if you know this, but I was doing what Andrew was kind of doing, but except for, it's like I'm just asking you questions and trying to get you, like, walk you through your own process and not insert myself in. I'm just like, I'm just a guy on the course.
Anyway, it's not like the conversation that we had at that time was the conversation I was having with myself already while I was walking towards you. And then I was just speaking it to another person.
Right.
That was the only difference. And so
it made me feel a little bit better. You were already contemplating these things before you ran into me. And it wasn't like, oh, you're here. Oh, I can get a ride. Oh, cool.
No, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I was already like, and I wasn't even like, also when I was going to quit too, I was thinking about that. I was like, well, if I am going to quit, like, it'd be pretty easy right here. But also then I feel like then I feel like I'm definitely taking the easy way out. And then I also feel like I'm breaking the rules somehow. And if I do that, I still felt like, even though you were right there, there's a van, there's all this stuff, I still felt like even if I had made the decision to quit like that, I couldn't accept anything from you because it was against the rules. It was like, you weren't there to help anybody. You were there to take pictures. And it's like, if I was in a situation, I was expected to get myself out of that situation.
Yeah.
And so even if, I had asked for a ride or something, and accepted a ride, it's like, I still feel like that would be, even though at that point I would have already withdrawn from the race, I still feel like it would have been breaking the code of like self-supported, because you're not at that point. It's like self-supported would be like, you find your own way out of this. You, call your friend to come pick you up or whatever. But I still feel like the situation was handled very appropriately. I didn't feel like I received any edge that anybody else didn't have. And I didn't feel like I received any advice that anybody else didn't have or that I didn't have before seeing or talking to anybody else. And so,
I hope so. I mean, I know for a fact I didn't offer anything. I was just there to listen, essentially. That was like my only role. I'll just stand here and listen to you. But I was aware of it, and it is complicated, and it's worth It's worth doing well. I mean, I think not to say I'm perfect, and I learned from that interaction, and I'm sure I'll maybe find myself in one of those similar interactions again. But around the topic of media crew being on course and not offering assistance, I thought we handled it pretty well. It's just like you got to respect what each person is doing. You were respecting the fact that I wasn't there for you. I was there for the course to take pictures and to document. Had nothing to do specifically with you. You just happened to be there.
Right.
And you were there to do your own thing, and you were on your own journey. And, we got to respect the fact that we're both there doing our own thing. And whenever you were like, I'm back in this thing, I was like, I gave you fucking knuckles and I walked away. Like, I was like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Yeah. You said that word and I'm fucking out of here. Like, I'm not even going to give you that option. But I mean, I was happy with the way we handled it. I called Andrew afterwards and I told him everything that happened. He said you didn't even mention the fact, he didn't even know I was there. That's you weren't even like, you were just talking to Andrew, and I appreciated that too. It wasn't like, again, I wasn't there. I wasn't really an option. I just happened to kind of be there, and you were going through your process. But to just continue on with your story, what was neat about that is I got to see you at your lowest low. I was there, or one of your lowest lows. Like, I mean, I was there. I saw you, struggling. And then I fucking wake up the next day. I mean, you wrote off, I woke up the next day and you're just like trudging along and end up in second place with the new FKT and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm like, bravo, man. Like, seriously, kudos to you. That was it. It's your race. But from an outsider looking in, that was a victory, like making that decision, having Andrew kick it back to you and say, listen, buddy, you trained, you worked hard, you drove all this way, you had goals, you know what it feels like to quit. What do you really want to do right now? Like the way he put it back on you, I fucking love that, and I'm also glad because I almost called Andrew. I almost called him myself and I was like, no, you got to call Andrew. That's you. Like, this has nothing to do with me. And so it just, I like the way it played out, and I really gained a lot of respect for you. Not that I didn't respect you, but I'm like, that's fucking hard to do, to quit in your mind, to think, okay, I'm about to check out, I'm quitting, I'm whatever, and then to go on and accomplish what you did. I mean, what a great example it is, but also, like, are you proud of yourself? Like, what is your own, like, feeling about that experience and your ability to keep pushing on?
Yeah. I actually think that had a lot to do with the way I was able to perform racing Rule 3, because I was not signed up for that event. I finished Doom, and then like the next day I was talking to Dylan, and he was like, so are you doing Rule 3? And I was like, no, I'm not registered for it. And he's like, well, do you want to do Rule 3? And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, I could probably be talked into it, but it's also sold out. And he was like, well, we can maybe there's a way or something. And so somehow I got in, whatever, paid the registration fee. They let me in. They let me in. So whatever. And so I did that next weekend. And I felt like I did like nothing all week. Like, we just hung around on a farm and like picked strawberries and like asparagus, and like I rode a horse.
Oh,
and
awesome.
We went back to Arkansas. Well, this is in Missouri. And we went back to Arkansas and then did the pre-ride for Rule 3. And I was like, oh my God, like fitness shock. I was like, I feel terrible. Like, this is bad. I was like, this is going to be bad. But then I was like, no, it's fine. And so, the ride started and I just felt like super mentally strong, and it was enough to carry me through the whole race, basically, in a pretty fast time. And I think that like making that decision to continue was ultimately like a mentally very powerful decision to make. More than anything, like, it's like regardless of your fitness or whatever. It's like the strength mentally that it takes to make that choice, and then to be reassured that that choice was the right choice whenever you finish a ride, still within your goal, is like very powerful. I think in your brain, because it is a mental thing. I mean, everybody says these races, sure, you ride your bike, but it's a mental challenge, and it's true, it is. And it's your mental challenge. It's like afterwards, like when you quit those things, then if you quit, now you have to deal with the aftermath of that in your brain, and you have to like figure out how to, like, at least I do. I have to figure out how to tell myself, like, you could do that. Like, there was just these things happened, it's fine. But that's hard to get over. Like, after I quit the high country, I was like, for a month and a half, 2 months even, I was like totally unmotivated. Anytime I went to get on my bike, I'd get, couldn't even ride more than like 15, 20 miles. I'd just be like, this sucks. I was like, I don't want to do this right now. I was like, so it's like getting back into it after having to make a really difficult decision like that is hard. And so I think a lot of times it's just worth it to try to pull yourself out of that situation. If you can't pull yourself out of the situation, then you at least tried,
right,
like, multiple times, instead of just first or second time after you start feeling bad, you're like, okay, I quit. Obviously there's a lot of things like gear choices, like if, whatever things you brought on the ride, if that didn't work out, or even mechanical that like you just can't fix, like sometimes things like that happen. But when it comes down to like you quit because you didn't make this resupply, or
your feet hurt,
yeah, or like it's hard, it all seems like very small in the end after you finish. Like, yeah, of course it was hard. Like, what do you?
Of course your feet hurt. Of course things went wrong. Like, those are going to happen.
You signed up for that. Like, you signed up for your feet to hurt.
Exactly.
To be hard. That was why you did it. Like, so.
I played that mental trick on myself, like deep when things get hard. It's like, no, don't look at it as a negative. Look at it like, I've ridden my bike 100, 200 miles, whatever, so that I can feel this. This is what I came for. I came and I signed. And it's just like a mental trick. But as you were talking, I mean, the neat thing for you is that, yeah, man, that's something you can refer back to anytime in your life and apply it to many things other than bike pack racing, but like how mentally tough you can be, and how you can go from, thinking about quitting to, coming in second place. Other people may listen to this episode and hear those words, but man, until you like put yourself in that position and actually like know it for yourself, I just feel like that's going to be a really good tool for you just going forward with whatever you want to try to do.
Yeah, and it already has.
And you're only 23, right?
24. Yeah, I just turned 24 in February.
You're an old man.
Yeah.
Wait, in February?
Yep.
When's your birthday? That's my month.
February 17th.
On the 5th.
Yeah.
I think Connor, my buddy, is the 17th or 18th. But anyway.
It's the same birthday as Michael Jordan.
Ah. I heard about him. He plays golf, right?
Yeah, golfer. Real good golfer. Yeah.
He is a pretty good golfer on the side, but yeah, that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, we're getting a little bit short on time because I got to go be a dad. But so let's talk about what's next for you. I mean, we've gone through your journey. You've had some pretty cool results with, Doom and Rule of 3, like back to back. You've shown yourself that, you're tough, you can compete, and learn some new mental tricks along the way. So what's next? What are you going to put those tools to use for?
Well, I'm doing several single day events. Like there's an event in northern Wisconsin called Schwamigan 100. It's 100 miles of single track. Super cool event. I did it last year. It was awesome. Can do that. There's another event in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan called the Crusher, which I'm undecided on yet. Like I might do it. It seems like it would be fun, kind of right up my alley, but not sure yet on that one. But ultimately, in October, I'm going to come back to Arkansas for the high country again to do that because I want to do it. I was originally kind of thinking like Andrew came out with, or I don't know if he came up with the route or whatever, but the Ouachita Triple Crown, it's like the mountain bike single track. It's like 170 or 80 miles or something like that. That's going to be an option for the high country, I think, this year.
Oh, cool.
Maybe, I don't know exactly, but I was thinking about doing that, but then I was like, well, no, like I want to do the high country because I didn't get to do it. And that was the biggest thing I wanted to do last year, And so I feel like now that I understand the terrain in Arkansas, I understand the equipment to bring. I understand like how the climate is. I was like, I feel like I can do the high country now, and I can not only do it, but I think I can like prosper on the route. Like, I think that I can really impress myself with what I can pull off on that. So that's the biggest thing, gonna be the biggest thing in this year. The Arkansas high country route. And then, I don't know from there, but, it's been thinking about it for a long time, like many people, but like the Tour Divide, really like to do the Tour Divide. So
wait, which route is that?
The Tour.
Just kidding. First time I'm hearing about no.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking next year, I would like to do that. Regardless of if I try to, whatever. Obviously, whenever I do something like that, I'm going to push myself because just how I am. I don't know what's possible for me on that route, but I know that I've been wanting to do it for several years, and it just hasn't worked out, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that and
sounds like a good progression.
Yeah.
Where are you at in terms of your thoughts? I mean, as being like a quote unquote bike pack racer, like, is that what you're trying to become? Is that what you want to be? Do you have any like hopes and aspirations, or is this just something you do on the side for fun to push yourself?
Well, I really like doing it. I want to do it more as much as possible. And obviously you have to work. It's really hard to balance the two because it's like I prioritize riding and training and racing over working and, being super financially like well off or something.
Stable or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think
you're young too. You can take some risk.
Yeah. I do okay. I would have more money than I do if I didn't do this. That's for sure. I don't have that much money. My job pays more than some jobs, but it doesn't pay a lot. But they let me take time off because I told them that's what I wanted to do. I told them like that. I was like, that's what I need to do. Otherwise, like, I'm not going to be able to work here.
Are you still welding?
Yep. Unfortunately. Well, not really unfortunately. I like welding. I don't like the company. Not that I don't like the company I work for, but what I do, manufacturing that I do is not ideal. I would like to work, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to work with bicycles.
Yeah, apply your skill set to something like more that you're more passionate about or interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, you're young, man. We all got to have a job and pay the bills, but It's like
and that's what it is. It pays the bills. I also really like the idea of farming, and I've done that as a job a little bit. And I'm always kind of back and forth whether or not I want to like keep welding or like take a little bit of a pay cut and just like work on a farm or two farms and just like do that, because sometimes I feel happier doing that. Sometimes I feel happier with a little bit more money, but to balance it too.
Yeah. There's a lot to consider whenever you're wanting to take off a week or 2 weeks or whatever. I mean, the training, the money to travel, to purchase the gear, the opportunity cost when you miss work. I mean, these are all challenges that unless you're a professional athlete, we're all having to overcome.
Yep.
And it's one of the things that I like about, it's like Brett Stepanek when he came out to do Doom, or Haley whenever she came out to do Doom, or, it's like you're making sacrifices, personal sacrifices and choices financially and, time with friends and all this stuff just so you can go and do something really hard, which is one of the cool aspects of it.
Yeah. It's like people, at work, they'll be like, oh, so you're going on vacation for a week and a half. I'm like, well, I mean,
my vacation is different than yours.
Yeah. It's like if you did this, you wouldn't say that you're on vacation, but it is because it does help me reset my brain, but it's not vacation. Like you're not sitting on a beach drinking glasses with umbrellas in them.
Now, if you're bike pack touring or something like that, that's a vacation, sure. Yeah. But what you're doing is not a vacation. What you're doing is like you're lucky if you get 30 seconds to hop off your bike and take a picture real quick before you're back in the pain cave.
Yeah. So granted, this time around, I did take a bunch of extra time off to just like sit around, which was really nice. Yeah. But, you don't get to do that every time. And so sometimes you just have to, I guess. But sometimes it's like I go to do an event. I work the day before the event. I drive several hours to the event, get up super early the next morning, do the event, go to sleep, get up the next day, drive several hours home, go to sleep, get up and go to work. It's like, it's not like you can't always. Sometimes you just have to do it on a weekend. You can't always take Monday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday off, You
got to prioritize the events you really want to do.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of events, you were talking about your calendar. It reminded me I'm heading up to Michigan. What's that state right above you?
Wisconsin.
That's the one I'm going to, Wisconsin. For the Iron Bull something. Have you heard of that? The Red Granite Grinder or something?
Oh, I feel like I've heard that name before, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm going to be up in your ironbull.org, and it's their Red Granite Grinder, October 15th.
Interesting.
So little plug for them, but I was wondering if you might. They've hired me to come up there again to be media. So luckily that's not a bike pack race, so I don't know. It's just a different vibe. But I'm gonna be up in your neighborhood, kind of for the first time. I've never been up there before, so I'm looking forward to it. Been to Illinois.
There's like some cool, like on their website. There's like some cool events.
Yeah,
looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess they're pretty excited about it, and they want me to come and check it out. And
I wonder how that will line up with the high country race.
Oh, that's right. That's gonna be right before.
Yeah, right before or right after, potentially, depending. Like I think last year it was like October 9th or something like that, or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. But it looks like they have like a ton of events.
Yeah, they do. It's like Iron Bull is a full like organization that does all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up and go be a dad. Go get my girl from her mom. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, it was nice to meet you at Doom. It's always fun to see people from the internet that you chat with for a while and you're like, oh, hey, you're a real person. And look.
Yeah.
You can do cool shit. Well, welcome to bike pack racing, man. Really impressed. It's probably a good blueprint for people listening, like, to some degree. You don't just sign up for Doom and get second place overall. So, it's a what is that? You're on a 5-year journey, it sounds like, to get from like your introduction into bike packing, and like you've just been pushing yourself at little stages along the way and learning through mistakes, learning through successes, and 4 or 5 years later, boom, now you're the hot shit. Now you're setting new FKTs and people are going to be chasing your time. I mean, that's true. You laugh. I mean, but that's out there. And the next person on single speed is going to be like, I'm going to go get that time. That's my time. That's what I'm going for, and you fucking did that, which is awesome, man.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what people do with that in the future. Like Zeno did it.
Oh God.
I know him. He actually rides in the same area. He trains in the same area that I do. Because we live in the same kind of area,
Yeah.
I mean, what he did is just, I looked at his dot a couple times during the race and I didn't understand what was happening.
You're like, this doesn't make sense. Are we on the same course?
Yeah. Is he doing something else?
Someone check that bike for batteries. Let's go.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Zeno. And a nod to Zeno because he fucking just... If anybody wants to go, like, one thing I love about track leaders, and I can go back and I'm watching the race in real time, but to go back and hit that play button and rewatch the dots as they go, and you see just Zeno. I mean, it wasn't even fair, huh?
Yeah. He just didn't stop moving. It seemed like.
No, it was like Kuya whenever he came out to the East Texas Showdown and put in a sub 24 hour, and we're just like, okay, we weren't ready for that, but I guess that's what happened. So here we are.
Yeah.
It's cool. But I mean, those are the cool things that, someone breaks a half marathon or a marathon time and then 10 people beat it or whatever. I mean, it's not until you can unlock that thing in your brain sometimes that you even know it's possible. And you're like, okay, well, level up.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks again.
Yep.
Are you on the phone or?
Nope.
Okay, I cannot see. So
yeah, I was on the phone, and that's what Andrew told me to do.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, buddy. What's that?
Oh, that's what Andrew told me to do.
What was it though? I missed it.
He said that I should go and sleep to the town.
Okay. So what you doing, buddy?
I'm gonna go to the town.
All right, buddy.
And then I'm gonna sleep.
I'm gonna give you fucking knuckles, man. Go ride your fucking bike, dude.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And then maybe I will feel better, or maybe not.
Hey, dude. But Andrew's got you. We're not far behind. Whatever, man. You got this, dude. Yeah. Go sleep. Take some time to think about it.
Just gonna take some time.
Cool, buddy. Have a good ride.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Jacob. Good job, buddy. All right, everybody, you just heard a little clip from my interaction with Jacob when we were on course. And that was the moment that he got off the phone with Andrew. And I walked over and he was like, I'm going. Knuckles, let's get out of here. And away he went. Beautiful moment. If you'd like to hear that entire interaction, it's going to be available soon for patrons. If you're not a patron yet, you can sign up over at patreon.com/bikesfordeath. And if you are a patron, that segment is going to be uploaded to the patron page very soon as my friend and editor Ben Crannell gets done touching it up. I wasn't using my professional equipment. It was just my iPhone, and part of the time it was in my pocket and stuff. So we're cleaning it up, making it a little bit easier for you to listen to, and we'll have that available online shortly. Well, that is it for today's episode. Next week could be one of two episodes. I'm recording a couple, and I don't know exactly which one's going to come out next week, but we've got some great guests coming up as always. So have no fear. You will have more Bikes or Death podcast in your ear next week. Until then, don't forget about the memorial ride for Mo Wilson that is this Sunday. If you need more details on that, you can check out Cynthia Pedraza's Instagram page or probably just contact her directly through there. Her Instagram is _chiller_well. Chiller is spelled CHILLER. And I'd like to thank and acknowledge the members of the Austin cycling community that have taken the initiative to make that memorial happen and honor Mariah's life. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Until next week, you know what to do. Don't forget, go ride your damn bike.
It was the middle of the night. You grabbed your knife and you held it tight. The sounds of beasts kept you awake. The sounds they made kept you afraid. In the morning, you packed your bike. Memories forgotten from the previous night. You rode faster than ever before. Was it your imagination or merely folklore? Fear turned into strength as you pushed further. Every pedal stroke, stronger and firmer. Your bike feels weightless, your legs aren't tired. You think to yourself, just a few more miles. Bikes. Oh, death. Bikes. Oh, death. Podcast.